The Black Ice Chronicles Massive. This is Crazy Dee. I'm standing here with Deborah Harris. But for this interview, we're going to call her by her more business and comfortable name, Miss Harris. How you doing today?
I'm excellent. Thank you for having me.
Oh, okay. So, in these pieces that we do, we're always giving and expressing and passing on information so that the next generations after the next generations after the next generations will be able to profit from it, and we can see a better outcome than what we perceive right now to be happening for black people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
Okay. So you were on uh, Like It Is Radio with Franklin G, and you spoke on intersectionality.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, what are the pros and cons of intersectionality, and what do you believe the purpose of intersectionality is?
Well, what I've noticed from being a part of this movement for like a year and a half, I'm a baby to this, but what I've noticed is that the pros of intersectionality is that there's equal voice, there's equal platform, there's equal resources being distributed, especially to those communities that are closest to systems of oppression. The cons of intersectionality comes about when not everybody wants to be transparent and honest about their involvement or belief that liberation should be delivered to all people. So I feel that people aren't willing to have really tough conversations and do the work afterwards. And people aren't willing to really dig up truth because it could hurt their community. Um, and those are some of the cons. And so when we talk about forward movement and really creating a new narrative for the history of this country, for the state of Nevada, for Clark County, in terms of intersectionality, we have to be willing to own up to our own part in harming that progress.
Oh, and see, this is why I wanted to interview Miss Harris after the show because people who you do believe in intersectionality.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
But so this is my point. Most of the time, people who believe in intersectionality do not have your viewpoint on it.
And I wouldn't say like my viewpoint is the viewpoint or anyone else's viewpoint is the viewpoint. I mean, we've had shared experiences as communities, especially communities of color. Different dynamics have affected us in different ways. So even when you talk about women's rights, women's productive rights, my productive rights, reproductive rights as a black woman are different from a white woman's, are different from a Hispanic woman's, are different from an Asian woman's. So intersectionality is multifaceted on every level. And so we have to delve into the truths of those. So I mean, yes, you could say a lot of people may not or may agree with my view, but it is the worldview that I'm seeing. But that doesn't mean I'm not open to education and to finding solutions and strategy with other viewpoints and perspectives. And so that's what it's all about. If we have a big picture goal, all of our levels of intersectionality should funnel into that. And we need to, and yeah, we're going to wrestle through that. We're going to get dirty. There's going to be some fighting. But we have to keep that big picture present, as we approach these different levels of how to really be inclusive and be allies to one another and make sure that all of our issues are platformed equally and with equity. So, I mean, these are things we have to work on, and I believe a lot of communities are working on, but it's going to be more work.
See, the word equity. Now, there's an interesting word, much different than equality. Very much different because equity means that you have to then disperse what has usually been unequal.
Yeah.
You have to disperse those to make everyone come up to the same level.
So a very simple way that I saw it, memes are a beautiful thing. So they are, because I'm a little, so I need stuff. I need a picture. So everyone has seen this meme. There's a fence, and there's like a baseball game on the other side of the fence, and there's three different kids, and each of them are in ascending order of height, but each of them has a box. Now, of course, the shortest kid, although he got a box, can't see over the fence. So equity is making sure you give the short kid 3 or 4 boxes, and the next in line kid another box, so that everybody can see over the fence to watch the game. So that's what we talk about equity. Yes, everybody gets a box, but can everybody have the same viewpoint and the same advantages? From the same platform. So we need to figure out ways to increase that and make sure that privileged communities understand the importance of that.
Oh, see, now this is where we're warming up now. This is getting very dangerous.
It's not
It-
getting dangerous. I mean,
oh, yes, it's getting very.
it's not getting dangerous.
You are a dangerous thinker to some.
No, it's not getting dangerous. It's about putting it out there, and I get it. And this is okay. So even in our own state, in our own county, we're having issues in the party, pertaining to intersectionality, pertaining to equity, pertaining to fair platform, resources, acknowledgement, respect, you know. And so you can't be a part of this movement if you don't understand how you're harming this movement and acknowledge how you're harming this movement. We won't all get to the big picture if you don't admit to yourself, that's my fault. And also for us, something very important was said at the Women's Convention that happened in October. The oppressed have to make sure not to become the oppressor. That right there is something I believe a lot of us, have to make sure we're not doing. It's like, yes, we are the community closest to systems of oppression, communities of color. But in this fight, to make sure that the narrative change for the nation as a whole, we have to make sure that we are not oppressing others, whether it's intentional or unintentional, subconsciously or, you know. So it's acknowledging what we're doing to other people in this fight, how we're shutting other people down, how we're saying, oh, it's not your time, or how we're saying this was co opted, that was co opted. Okay.
No, 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 no. Let me push on that for a little bit now. Things were co opted.
No, I'm not saying that's not the case. What I'm saying is taking that information and making sure that you are honest and transparent with your place. With all of these issues that we're having, even with things being co opted and movements being co opted, yes, there's truth in that. Like, even with Women's March, there was a huge issue in the beginning when this started, when it was first branded as the Million Women March, and black women were saying, whoa, we already had a Women's March and we ain't get acknowledgement like that. And so we had to go back to the table and say, okay, where did we mess up? What's the spot that we missed? And we had to go back and say, what are areas that were already targeted? With the March on Washington, with Dr. King, with areas of equal pay and economic development that we're not even discussing under the brand. We're still responsible, for the big picture. And so, but that means everybody has to be transparent and own up to their pros and cons in this, as you put. So it's a delicate dance, but it's a dance that needs to happen.
Now, do you find that some of us, black folk, don't quite, how should I put this? Don't want to quite rock the boat in speaking on how certain privileged communities have caused detriment to the black community, and thus and so they may not like the way that you're coming with your message. Have you found that? Have you experienced that?
I think you'll find that everywhere. I mean, not everyone's going to have the same delivery or strategy on how to get to the big picture, but like I said, we all got to get there and understanding that our heart is in the right place. But as you say, our people, how did you put it? Not as willing to speak up on certain privileged communities and what they've done. And so, like I said on the radio show, when we have these conversations and when we figure out strategy, we got to own up to our part. And so, like, even in our state here, like, white women, as privileged people, need to understand their part. And we need to be able to have honest conversation about that. Not just conversation, but work done after that. So like I said in there, one of the most powerful conversations that happened at the Women's Convention was the panel on confronting white womanhood. That was led by a white Jewish woman. And the one thing she said that sticks with me and that will probably stick with me for the rest of my life while I'm in this work is this is not a safe space. This is a brave space. So we all got to come knowing that it's finna be a fight, but understanding that we going to come out winning together. So there's a lot of dynamics to this, and I understand what you're saying. A lot of people may not agree. That's okay. I don't agree with a lot of people. That don't mean I don't know I got to work with you to do this work. Sometimes you got to push all of that aside because the other side of this coin that's trying to keep us down and keep us shackled to systems of oppression notices that. They ain't got to do too much. Oh, let them fight amongst themselves.
How much of knowing what happened in the past helps in the future, do you believe? Because I believe in knowing the past, then you won't make the same mistakes from the past in the future. But I say this because we're talking about co-opting, and we're going to close with this and bring it back around and wrap it all up. But Gloria Steinem on a documentary said that Flo Jackson was actually the first feminist woman, and this was a black woman. And her argument was not uh, aiming at her man, at the black man, but was aiming at the man. And so now that it's been co-opted, many people believe, and so do I, that my opinion is that white women have told black women that they no longer need their man, but as they fight their feminist movement, they just want to be in and have a peace with their man. Do you do you find that when you really like look at it and think about it, they say, well, you don't need a man, and thus that pushes you don't need a man. But over here, they say we need our men, but
Our
we're
men
just
are attacked.
no,
So
no, no, no. I'm trying to get your viewpoint
yeah,
because
I mean,
people. Let me rephrase like how I said at the very beginning. People who believe in intersectionality have a certain belief, and I did not hear that from you because also on Like It Is Radio, you said you talked about the black man,
yeah.
right? In positive. Most people who believe in intersectionality have been, to me, brainwashed into we don't need our man, but the white woman fights just to be alongside her man, equal pay, equal rights. But they tell us, well, you don't need your man because you have to go back and look at how the white social worker would come in and break up the black family from back in the 20s all the way up till today with welfare and all. They say you don't need a man, you don't need this, and they use social programs to break the family. Whereas, see, I'm getting deep here, so that's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to figure out how to answer this because
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of different answers.
No, 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 yeah, yeah. It's a lot of different
To
answers, so you
that.
have to get to the one that's gonna fit you and where you're coming from. Because, like I said, intersectionality, like what you said, is
So let me
very
start.
deep and it's
It's
intricate,
it is.
interwoven,
It is.
and so along with that goes along with exposing what was done to us. There's going to be some sore feelings if you really get to exposing what was actually done to black people by some of those who co-opted the feminist movement in the first place,
Okay, so
including
I
Margaret Singer way back with the abortion clinics and sterilizing people. So we have to go way back. We talking about intersectionality. We have to go and get them to tell the truth that this is still what they're doing.
yeah. So
Wait, let me
trying
stop
to
for a minute.
answer this.
Let
I'm
me,
gonna try
okay, wait,
to.
wait, wait, wait. Let me give you a minute. See, we get deep here, Black Ice Chronicles. We get deep because this sister right here is deep, and I knew we had to get to this. So here we are. Oh, she's got to think this one. This is good. This is good. Okay, here we go. You get where I'm coming from.
It's about
You
telling.
understand what I'm
It's
saying?
about telling the truth.
Okay, okay.
But it's about telling the truth in the way. How can I say it?
This is good. This is good. See,
So
this is a. I heard her on the show, and I know her mind is clicking and moving us forward. So this right here, I knew that we would get to this because this is a intersectionality. This is a crossroads within the intersectionality, I would say. And so now, come on now,
So
now bring. Okay, okay.
I'll say this. I heard it from two different women on both sides of the coins, and to me, it just made sense, so that I know how to move forward when doing this work. So from Tamika Mallory, one of the national co-chairs, powerful black woman, been doing this work forever and ever. She said, if your feminism, your intersectionality does not include my black son, how are we gonna do this? And I'm paraphrasing. She said it more eloquently than me. But how are we going to do this? So that goes to how black men have been affected, ripped from their families, brought down to, a lower standard of their importance, just overall, you know. And then I heard from another woman on the Women's March team that is a white Jewish woman that said to her white sisters, trust and believe that your white men don't love you that much, that you have been used as a pawn in the game of oppression to strip black men of their dignity and their power. So when you understand the dynamics of those two things, and you talk about intersectionality and allyship and where do we go from here, how do we build up and build across from here, those are some very real conversations that need to be had and some very real solutions that need to be made. If your feminism is only focused on your reproductive rights as a woman and your equal pay as a woman, you're missing the mark completely, because you are not the community that's closest to the systems of oppression that have been built and crafted to keep people of color down. Crafted with great majesty.
With great majesty.
We have a lot of work to do. So understanding it from those two sides, the privileged understanding their place, how they've been used, how they can help, and then us pushing the narrative and getting people to understand that you must include these levels of intersectionality. Understand the dynamics of what we have been put through in order for us to work together. Your liberation must be bound to mine, because until I get free, you're going to always be mad. Trust and believe that. And so it's a lot of that needs to be worked on and strategized, and we need to be healed from a lot. So even as we talk about, I'm breaking it down with just women in general, women in this state, women in this county, and our place in leadership, strategizing our next moves for 2018, making sure we have wins. To not have black women at the table is a disservice. It's a disservice. You can't fool yourself on that any longer. And you can't expect black women to be cool any longer. And stop taking it as they're taking our place. They're taking our place? What do you mean by that? They're taking our place. Honey, we worked for this. We worked for this. We bled for this. We fought for this. Ain't about taking anybody's place. It's about standing where we always was supposed to be. And you having our back if you are part of this movement. That's what it's about. It's about the transparency.
Standing where we were supposed to be as black women. Now let's talk about the Women's March, the 1 year anniversary. Let's talk about that. When is that happening? Where is it happening? And how can people get involved? What's the website?
So right now, like I said before on the show, the venue is secured. There will be a national press release for that. I'm not going to jump the gun on that. That's not my lane. But trust and believe it's going to be amazing. If you want more information on that, please follow us on Facebook at Women's March Nevada or just Women's March on Facebook, womensmarch.com, powertothepolls.com, or email me directly at nevada@womensmarch.com, so we can get your questions answered. But it is happening January 21st, 2018 from 10 to 4. If you want to volunteer, check out our page so you can sign up on the link. And we will be releasing that venue information very soon. But it will be a time for people to be empowered, people to engage with one another, and organizations that reflect the issues that they need to build upon and engage in and grow with. Also, is going to be a space for people to get registered to vote, but also it will be a place where there'll be empowerment speakers, entertainers, representation from Clark County, from our communities, people that are out there doing beautiful work. So it's going to be an amazing time. I don't even know what National has in store as far as who and what they bring in, but trust that they always move with power, intentionality, and everything they do is nothing short of amazing. So I'm fired up. And seeing the community come out last night to Pearson, I was like, yo, we finna be lit up in here on January 21st. Like, so I'm excited to see that many people come out and listen and hear one another and want to be involved and then take that collective power and then really move with like thunder through 2018. So when our elections come up, like it's on, so, and it's not just about that day and putting that ballot, in the box. It's about all the work we've done throughout 2018 so that those we elect or push out that seat, it's game over. It's business, So I'm excited to see what happens this year and excited to see what happens January 21st.
All right, so game over is business. That's where we will leave it. We want to thank Miss Harris for interviewing with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
And stay tuned because we're going to see more and more from Miss Harris. I can predict. I can see the future. Stay tuned. The Black Ice Chronicles.